Tell me your name, your age, your instrument, and where you live.
My name is Seymour Bernstein. I'm 90 years old as of last April. That means I'm no longer 90. I'm on the next year. And I live in New York City.
And you play the piano.
I'm a pianist, yes. My father, when he was asked how many children he had, he said, I have 3 daughters and a pianist.
Okay.
In other words, I was a non-entity to my father.
Oh. Well, you're an entity to me.
Thank you.
Tell me, Seymour, tell me a piece of music that has greatly influenced your creative life.
That's almost impossible to say, because so many pieces have influenced me at different stages of my life. So I would have to think now which piece made the greatest impact upon me. Okay, I didn't have to wait too long. Beethoven, Opus 111.
And that's a sonata.
Yes.
And can you give us a little bit more information about why that piece? Briefly.
Let me just put it quite simply. It's so difficult that I thought, if I can ever perform this piece, not just study it, but actually walk across the stage and perform it, I think that I will have arrived at a certain stature of being a pianist. That was one thing. So then I read it through, and I came to the second movement. And near the end of the second movement, there are Thomas Mann in his novel, when he wrote about Opus 111, he called them chains of trills. There are trills that go on, the longest trills in the piano repertoire. And what happens is the right hand is trilling and the left hand is going down and the right hand is going up. And at the very end of the trills, the hands are like this. I burst into tears because I said, oh my God, Beethoven is enacting the crucifixion.
Wow.
Well, I was just overcome with emotion.
Wow.
So that piece occupied, I would say 20 years of my life. And I did perform it in public, and it's on YouTube.
We'll look it up, I'm sure. Okay, Seymour, tell me what it feels like when you're performing or playing the piano, just whenever, where it feels like it's going extremely well. What does that feel like in the body?
In the body?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, the body ceases to exist. When I'm playing my best, I have a feeling that I'm not playing at all, but I'm being played. The music has taken me over like as though I were a puppet, and it's moving me to express its intimate message. So I'm being played when I'm playing my best. And by the way, that feeling has come upon me more and more as I get older. Isn't that a blessing?
It is.
So sometimes now, when I demonstrate a phrase to a pupil, I just can't believe how beautifully I'm playing. I'm not ashamed to say when something is good. I've struggled so when it isn't good, so I know when it is good, and I have to acknowledge it to myself. And that's a flaw with most musicians. They don't acknowledge when something is good. Let's say they're practicing one day, right? and they're playing better than they've ever played. Do you know what they say? Oh, I'm having a good day.
Mm.
Instead of paying attention, why is it so beautiful?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they knew why it was so beautiful, they could reproduce it.
Yes.
Don't you
Yes.
think so?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, that's well done. Yeah. So the last question is, what would you like the world to know about music?
Let's say, wow, that's a loaded question
Mm-hmm.
about what the world should know about music. Well, music is an integration of a composer's emotional world, intellectual world, and physical world. In other words, everything that pertains to a human. And the message in music is so profound that I think it can influence a person's life. And I know from teaching, I've written a book about this, that a controlled performance of music represents not only an integration of your talent, but it leads towards the integration of the personality, because it requires all of these facets in order for it to be recognizable and concise.
Mm.
Your emotional world, your intellectual world, and you can't play convincingly on those two without making a physical connection to what you're feeling and thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the most therapeutic activities that I could recommend to everybody of any age.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that you have to be a performer. It means just a serious student of music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ancient Greeks knew this.
Mm.
That's why music was one of the 4 primary subjects that they thought no person could develop properly without it.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, that's so beautifully put. And I want to thank you, Seymour Bernstein, for sharing your creative imperative.
You're welcome.